Next day, then we got like a call that I have COVID-19, that the COVID-19 test was positive and the one of malaria is negative.
When I heard what, I knew it was happening. I knew what it meant. I knew what meant. And I just stopped. I froze. I think I was holding a knife and I froze there and I was like, God, this is not happening. But before we get to that part, I would have to cut this video because I have to head over to the daycare to pick our baby. And when I return, the setting might be a little different, but we are going to continue from here. Yeah, so do not go anywhere. So you got back and we were very excited. I made a video, you know, us picking him up from the airport, the excitement, you know, it was joyful. We were so happy to have Daddy back. It was like Christmas. It felt like Christmas, you know. It felt like our birthday. It felt so special to have him back in our lives, in our home. The mood changed, you know, knowing that he's here finally after all this months. And then a few days after you got back, I think you came back home. You went and dropped off your in-law at the airport, and then you came back home and you said you were having a headache. It started with a headache, right? And you felt like you had a flu. Do you still remember how the thing started? How you started to feel sick?
It was more like a high temperature. I started acting like a high temperature and weakness. That was it.
From the beginning already?
Yeah, from the beginning. I never had like a headache. It was not like a headache.
No flu?
Yeah, it was a bit like flu. I can remember, yeah. Like blockage, nose blockage, kind of.
Yeah.
But not running nose, but nose blockage, yeah.
Okay. In high temperature, okay, so the symptoms he had were high temperature, your nose felt blocked, and flu, you know, feeling. But how long did it take you for you to know that, okay, I'm really sick? Because you had the symptoms, but you could still go about, do your thing.
About 2 days. I think I came on Tuesday, and from Thursday, Friday, I started feeling much weaker. High temperature towards the evening time. Yeah. I thought it was like, I don't know, fever, just common fever. Sometimes it gets better in the morning, around 10 o'clock. But when it's getting to around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock
PM,
then knock me down again, something like that. So.
Because to be clear here, when you were in Africa, you were sick also. And you were told you had malaria, or you felt you had malaria. Okay, so I had to like put the child away to, you know, for him to let us, you know, do this thing. So you were saying you were sick a few years ago, you had malaria 2 years ago. Last year you didn't have any sickness. And then this year when you got to Africa, you got sick again, you had malaria.
Went to Nigeria, I think after 2 weeks, because most of the time, people do get like vaccine or tablet, but yeah, I was careless enough to not to get it this time, thinking that nothing will happen. So I had the symptom, I complained to the pharmacy, then they mixed some tablet. That was antibiotic with some, I think, multivitamin or something like that, with the paracetamol. I went with my paracetamol from here, so I told them I have my own paracetamol, so they told me I can use it. So after 3 days, I felt okay. But the same symptom I felt when I came back to the Netherlands. So same symptom towards evening time, I get weak and high temperature, body pain. Yeah, that was it.
Okay. So, and then you felt very sick, and then you felt or you thought you had malaria again.
Yeah, when I came into the country to Netherlands, I thought it's malaria. Not I thought, I still believe it's malaria anyway, but I'm not to dispute the medical or the experts. So I felt the same. After a few days, I was thinking it will get better. I was taking paracetamol, aspirin. You went and bought aspirin for me. So sometimes it get better in the nights. It reduced a bit. Next day it gets serious again, and it keep on going on and off. And most time is in the evening, in the night when I was in bed. I feel it more. So you advised me, let's see the doctor. We went to see the doctor, our house doctor, or family doctor, I should call it. Then he refers to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
We get checked up, several tests. I'm sure they did a lot of tests. They did the one of malaria, coronavirus, and every other test. So, but I think they're more focusing on the COVID-19 test because that's what they really want to know if I have it. So at the end of the day, they told us we have to go home because there's no point keeping us at the hospital after some long hours. And no medicine was given, though they told me they found out, because I did like a scan also, they found out I have a kind of pneumonia, which I think I know the reason. In Africa, I keep drinking cold water all the time, cold water. I sleeping without clothes on and all that because of the weather. So I think with all the mixture of cold water and rainy season as well, because I got beaten by rain all the time if I goes out to my site or whatever. So I think that's the reason. So I got antibiotic for that, but they told us to go home. Next day, then we got like a call that I have COVID-19, that the COVID-19 test was positive and the one of malaria is negative. So I was shocked. So after the whole conversation, I asked them, what am I supposed to do? They told me I have to keep staying at home, no contact with people, no going out. So a kind of isolation. So after, if I start getting better, then I will call them again to see what is the next step.
Okay.
So actually, I was not really terrified. I was not really devastated, like, because I know the symptom I have is a kind of malaria symptom, which I normally have before. But they told me it's COVID-19. I accepted it, but no medicine was given, none at all. And some part of the symptom they were expecting me to have, or a COVID-19 patient is supposed to have, I don't have them. Like the coughing part of it, the what part again?
Diarrhea? Did they have
diarrhea? Yeah, they asked me about diarrhea. Chest pain, if I'm having like a chest pain, and so on. Few part of it. The only one I have is that what do you call it? Body pain, high temperature, and weaknesses. That was it.
Okay.
So yeah, I waited and I keep on drinking.
Yeah, we will get to the treatment. You want to go to the treatment? We are going to get to it. Yes. So, I really don't know how that is. You just gave us your own perspective, but I was on the receiving end, hearing that you had what they said you had. And I remember when you received the phone call. Where let's just start from when you got sick. You became very sick, and you just be lying there on the couch, on the floor. You were weak. You couldn't do much. You couldn't talk. You were just sick. And you'd take paracetamol. And what else were you even taking in the beginning? I think paracetamol and just drinking tea, right? I think, yeah.
Paracetamol.
Yeah. Okay. So he requested specifically for aspirin, because usually we take paracetamol here, but he said, no, I want aspirin. So I went over to the supermarket or drugstore, got him aspirin. So he was just drinking aspirin, drinking tea, but he was still sick. Every single night he would be very, very sick with high temperature. And I remember making the joke of, are you sure you don't have corona? I remember laughing at him, like, are you sure you don't have corona? He just ignored me, like, what are you talking about? And it was just a joke. So you guys, be careful what you joke about, because it just might come right back and bite your bum. Anyways, fast forward to when the thing really started to get out of hand, that I saw that, no, this thing is not improving. Like, I've never seen him this sick. He gets sick sometimes and he'll just have a flu, and he will treat it, himself. He knows what to do, he knows what to drink, and he really does it well. But this one was different. It was persistent. He was weak. And then I told him, no, we have to call the doctor. And actually, I initially asked him, should I call the doctor for you? Should I call the emergency number? And he didn't say anything, because that wouldn't even be an area or the direction he normally would go. He would really treat things himself. And then I was like, we need to call. Like, I was really insisting. And then he was like, okay, go ahead. And I think it was around 10 p.m. And then I picked the call and we called. We told them what the situation was. And they were going to call us back after 30 minutes or after an hour. We had to take his temperature. And we did all of that. And then by the time they called back, he had fallen asleep. So we couldn't pick their call. So he slept. And then the next morning, he told me he didn't have a good night's rest. He didn't sleep well. His temperature was off the chain. And we called again. And then we called the emergency ward. And they saw the record that we had called earlier in the night. And they told us to come over. So we went over to the hospital and they ran tests for hours. I documented everything in the video, the last video that I did. You can also see a link of that in the description box below. Go ahead and watch that one. I sat there for like 4 hours. He was somewhere for like 3 hours in a room. You were just laying there and they were coming in and going out and taking tests. They were taking blood samples. They checked your temperature.
Yeah, they checked the temperature when we came in, and later they checked it again. So the temperature went a bit 2 degrees high.
Mm-hmm. How many? What was it then? How many?
At initial time it was around 36.8,
mm-hmm.
but later it was 38.4 or something like that.
Yeah. To clarify, 36 or 38 might sound a bit normal, but in the night he goes way beyond that, like really high. So it happens mostly at night. So after all the hours, they told us to go home and they gave him medicine for pneumonia, as he already said that he had pneumonia. So we were supposed to wait for the results from the malaria and the COVID test. So the next day, I remember I was in the kitchen. I don't remember what I was cooking or what I was preparing, but I remember I was standing in the kitchen and he was sitting right here, just the same place you're sitting now. And he picked his phone rang, and he picked his phone. And from the initial conversation, I already knew who he was talking to, and I was listening. And my mind was telling me, this conversation can go both ways. They could say, Mr. Man, you have malaria, you have to come back for your treatment. Or they could say, Mr. Man, you have COVID. I knew the possibility was there, but I was praying and hoping that it would be malaria, to be honest. And I was just there in the kitchen and listening, and the next thing I heard was, do you remember what you said, how you responded?
I think I shouted, what?
I was in the kitchen, and when I heard, what? I stopped. My heart stopped. When I heard what, I knew it was happening. I knew what it meant. I knew what meant. And I just stopped. I froze. I think I was holding a knife and I froze there and I was like, God, this is not happening. God, this is not. I remember saying it in my mind. I didn't say it out. I remember, thinking it and saying, God, I don't want to go through this. It could get really terrible. I know how corona cases in hospitals, all the videos we've seen, people coughing out blood, and I was like, God, and they would isolate people and their families can see them only through glass mirrors. And I was like, God, I don't want to go through this. And I was just like, I cannot believe this is happening to me now. Am I dreaming? This man just came back from Africa and now this. What is this? And I was just there and he finished his conversation and I think you were asking them, okay, what now? Like what next, right? You really wanted to know, okay, now I have this, what next? And I think you didn't really get the answer you were expecting to get.
Something like that.
Yeah, because his idea with corona, and I think it was also a bit of my idea, he thought that, once you have corona, helicopters will be coming into helicopters would come and just take you out of the house and go dump you somewhere. You know how it was during the Ebola time that people would come in their full gear, wearing white, masks, boots, gloves, and they would come and bamboozle you out of your house. And I think you were expecting something like that they would come and
no, really. Well, I thought maybe I would go like isolation camp or Canada or something, or room or whatever. But at the initial time, I was arguing with the person that was giving me
the diagnosis,
the information. I was telling him the symptom I have is not COVID-19 symptoms; it's that of malaria. But he kept insisting that it's COVID, that. But I was asking him, what do we do now? He said, I just have to stay at home. And I say, how do I stay at home? So if you say that this thing is infectious, so why my family are here, so what? He said, no, I should not worry about that. If any one of them start getting sick, then I should call them. I said, what about the medication? They said, there's no medication. I said, they said, until it gets worse, like I'm coughing, I can't breathe, then I should call them back. I said, why should I wait till I start getting, you already said I had coronavirus, right? So why should I wait till I'm out of breath and I can't breathe anymore, I am coughing at night, or it gets more serious, than you do something about it. Then it's like, there's no medicine for COVID. There's no medicine for coronavirus. I'm like, anyway, that was it.
So that was another clap, I'm speaking Dutch, another slap in the face, because you diagnosed someone of a particular sickness and we are waiting for you to say, okay, this is how we can help you, this is the treatment you're going to get. And we were shocked to find that they were not going to treat him. There was nothing they could do for him. So like I said in the beginning of this video is really to inform you guys. Anybody could go through this. Share this video to someone who might need this information, that if something like this happens, you are on your own. So that is also the feeling we had, that we were actually left to our fate. Like, it's up to you to treat yourself. There is nothing we can do for you right now, because there is no treatment, there is no cure, there is nothing we can do. Just go home and stay in isolation, stay away from your family, or maintain a 1.5 meter distance from them, stay in a separate room, do what you can do, use a separate bathroom, toilet, whatsoever, but no treatment. So that really got you upset. I could tell that you were angry. And it was difficult for me because I could see that he was in pain. Every night he couldn't sleep. So it was really shocking that they just told us, there is nothing we can do for you. And we just had to self-medicate. And that brings me to the point that I'm trying to make, that sometimes the information we get, we might feel like it is not relevant to us. but we need to equip our minds with information. And this video is informative because the information that I got months back, even before all of this, even when you were in Africa, that is the information that I applied during his treatment. You know, so we had to start to cook up things. We had to start to do home remedies, start to find ways to treat this thing in our own way. So we are also going to tell you about what we used, what we cooked, what he drank, what he used, and how we were able to, you know, deal with this thing on our own and in our own way.